Hey, what's up, Internet? I'm Dan Casey, and welcome to today's episode of Nerdist News Talks Back. It's our weekly over-the-top talk show about all things pop culture, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about what would have been a very different version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and from there, we're going to break down the latest news about the Tiny Toons reboot, the scariest movies according to science, the Animorphs movie, and, of course, the Mandalorian Season 2. All of that plus some space movie trivia on today's Nerdist News Talks Back. But before we get to all of that, let's meet today's awesome panel. So first of all, she needs no introduction, but legally I am required to give her one. You've seen her everywhere from College Humor's Dropout to right here on Nerdist. It's Amy Vorpahl. Amy, welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Amy, I thought it would never happen.
I
Scientists
thought
said
it would never happen.
But here we are.
This wasn't meant to happen. The gods have forsaken my appearance on this show during pandemic because of scheduling, and then because of the Northern California fires that I was not in, but very near, and the power shut off. And anyway, look, I'm here. I'm alive. Everyone I know is fine. Hello.
That sounded suspicious, the way you said not in, but very near. So I'm going to let the audience draw their own conclusions there. All right, moving right along. Next up, he's a producer, interviewer, and podcaster extraordinaire for shows like the Cinenauts podcast. It's Ian de Borja.
Hello, Dan. From Japan to here to Zoom.
I know.
This is it.
I'm so exciid.
It's all come to
that was a very fun trip that we met on. Ian and I, we met when we were in Tokyo on a very privileged, awesome trip to check out stuff for Detective Pikachu and Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
And we were geeking out when we were at Toho watching the new Godzilla movie and seeing all the old props. So that was a very treasured memory. What a fun trip. Yeah. All right. And last but not least, she's a comedian, a TV writer, an actress, an actual Disney character, and possibly the casting director for Aladdin, ? It's Dani Fernandez.
The internet needs to stop spreading rumors about me. I'm tired of it.
Let me voice the magic carpet, please. I sent you an MP4.
For people that don't know, that was like a misconception. People thought I was casting Aladdin because I shared a casting call that was open to everybody. And so my inbox was full of people asking for Zayn as Aladdin, which didn't happen. I'm sorry, internet.
Well, I'm glad to hear you received all 365,000 of my messages.
I misunderstood that and thought that a lot of people were sending you like self-tapes, but instead they were just recommendations. Oh, okay.
And that they were sending me them singing A Whole New World. Yes, I had a lot of before it was TikTok, whatever, when it was crossing over musically. I don't know. It was
Dub Smash. Let's go back through the lip sync apps real quick. Anyway, let's get this show on the road, folks. So first and foremost, before we get into it, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't done so already, if you haven't, please remember to register to vote. Go out there, exercise your civic duty, take part in the electoral process tomorrow, and then, I don't know, like, eat your body weight in extra toasty cheese. It's like what I'm going to do. Just do something that's going to make you feel good, but definitely, if you can, please vote. Anyway, speaking of apocalypse-induced binge eating, let's start things off with my favorite weird story in recent memory. So everyone jokes about Twinkies being the only snack item or like candy that's going to survive the apocalypse, but Nabisco is ensuring that the nightmarish ruins of our planet will at least also be full of sweet, delicious Oreos. That's right, Nabisco built an asteroid-proof vault in the permafrost of Norway to keep their cookies and recipes safe from impending interstellar doom. By the way, a meteor, I believe, or an asteroid is supposed to come near the planet today. Minuscule chance of it actually hitting, but hey, fingers crossed, anything's possible. And so while this may be a publicity stunt, it is a very real doomsday vault. It's impervious to chemical reactions, moisture, and air. It's going to keep the cookies fresh for years and years. It can withstand temperatures from -80 degrees to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just some wild stuff. So my question to you folks is, do you think this is a good idea, and what else needs a doomsday vault? So Dani, let's start with you on this one.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a little confused. Are the people allowed in there too?
It depends. I think it depends. They ask you how you
As
eat
I
an
said
Oreo.
That my light went out, I'm like terrified now. What the heck?
That's the first sign of an asteroid coming close. A single light will go out.
A ring light going out. I don't like, also it was made in 30 days. So I'm really fascinated about this technology. Like, and why don't we make all of our homes out of it?
Yeah,
These are the
who
questions that I'm asking.
Who are these Norwegian bunker contractors that can put together a apocalypse-proof Oreo bunker in 30 days or less? I don't know. I do agree that we should probably start turning our homes into these at some point. We were in a story recently about someone else who did that. They basically turned their house into a nuclear bunker, but that's how you wind up with a Brendan Fraser classic, Blast from the Past. So, well, I mean, look, I do love Brendan Fraser, so maybe let's do that after all. But Amy, I want to know, what would you put in a doomsday vault that is not already in there? And don't say seeds for all the world's fruits and vegetables. It's been done.
Yeah, no. Like Dani said, my first instinct, because I'm trying not to curse, but I'm a human being. I would put humans in the vault, guys. Like there's a real tragedy going around. It's called eco-anxiety or eco-depression, and it's our youth, and they're scared about the climate, and they're scared about their world ending. And we need to protect those people. And I don't think it's with like branded capitalist food. So that's
you want Gen Z fallout.
Embryos, frozen embryos, that type of thing. Maybe dragon eggs
And frozen embryos and a bunch of teens.
Yeah.
I smell a CW series that I would absolutely watch. Ian, same question. What else deserves a doomsday vault?
I would say you got to put in like a whole bunch of important musical relics. You got to put in albums there. So Ren Mike D in the comments, a copy of Armageddon. Actually, that is correct. Ren Mike D knows Armageddon needs to be in there. Show the people what happened. But I did have a question. How do people open this vault? Like if there is a mass, like if it can withstand a meteor or asteroid, can it withstand, like how does someone open it? It's obviously not like a latch, right?
I actually looked this up, and it's a little known fact that in the exact middle of every Oreo sleeve, there is one special cookie. And if you twist off the top, inside there's a QR code that you press against a laser device that will scan that code and give you permitted access into this highly secure facility. But if you're not careful, you'll break it in half or just something. You might accidentally eat it as well. So that's how they're limiting access, because most people don't have the self-control to hold on to that. So they would just eat it long before they ever made it to the permafrost of Norway.
Right.
I think that it is just a latch. It's just that an asteroid doesn't have opposable thumbs, so it can't open.
That's what you think.
It's one weakness. I traveled across the galaxy for this. What a rip. I wish Ben Affleck would just kill me. I guess actually no, it was Bruce Willis. Excuse me.
You know what?
Committing Armageddon blasphemy.
You know what I think doesn't need to go in there is anything from McDonald's. Like just leave it out and it'll be fine. I feel that can withstand like 400-degree temperatures, and like 400 years old, they'll still be a McDonald's burger.
Yes, it's just going to be like a fillet of fish that has sprouted legs and is just walking around the ruins of a perfectly intact play place. All right, in the chat as well, we have Bruce Paulson saying Funko Pops because, yes, look, you need some company in the apocalypse. They're a little more you can anthropomorphize them a little more easily than like a volleyball. Sorry to all the Wilson purists out there. Thanura Ravindra says DC and Marvel should create a vault containing the greatest hits of comics. Honestly, I feel like some of those are already in the Library of Congress, but we need a backup copy and not just like a flash drive, because look, you just want those yellowed old pages and you can read the old Hostess Fruit Pies ads. But speaking of Marvel, let's get into a bit of multiversal Marvel news real quick. And I'm not talking about Doctor Strange. I'm talking about something that's even stranger and quite possibly not all right. So as we all know, thanks to a combination of the butterfly effect, large burlap sacks with dollar signs painted on them, and chaos theory, the Marvel Cinematic Universe looks a particular way and stars particular people. But did you know it was almost very different? Because Matthew McConaughey, that's right, the McConaissance star himself, tried to change all of that. One man standing against entropy and said, please. So while appearing on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, McConaughey revealed that he petitioned Marvel to let him play the Hulk. And unfortunately, according to the actor, they said, no, thank you. So my question to the panel is, can you imagine Matthew McConaughey as the Hulk instead of Mark Ruffalo? And how do you think that would change the Marvel Cinematic Universe? So Ian, let's start with you on this one.
So I don't think it would. I love McConaughey. I love him so much. I'm very glad the McConaughey's happened, but I don't think it would have worked because like most of the MCU actors didn't really have like a big like name attached to them other than maybe like Robert Downey Jr. And you know, a lot of people like sort of got their rise to fame from the MCU. And Matthew McConaughey was already Matthew McConaughey at that time. He had kind of come off his streak of chick flicks that he then like took a break from. So I think it wouldn't have worked. I would love to see him in there in some role, but I think for like launching the series like that, I think it would have been distracting for some fans.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely distracting in a certain way, just because I'm just perpetually distracted by Matthew McConaughey whenever he's on screen. Although I will say, as the McConaughey's proved, he is a very good actor, especially when he finds a character that is compelling to him. But I'm curious, Dani, how do you think this would have changed the fabric of Marvel as we know it?
I think it would have made him like more playful. He's also, like you said, a seasoned actor. He is a chameleon. He can play anyone. This is the same as like anytime there's acting news that comes out and people are like, he could never. I'm like, this person has been nominated for an Academy Award. I think I made that up, but I'm sure he's been nominated. He has?
Mm-hmm.
Has he won one?
He was nominated for Dallas Buyers Club. I can't remember.
No, he didn't win, but Jared Leto did, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. See, I feel like he's a seasoned actor, but I think it would have made the Hulk, or at least Bruce Banner, like slightly more playful. I do like the fact that Mark Ruffalo feels like an underdog, and I think that carries him through all of those films. But yeah, I have a couple of other things that I think Matthew McConaughey could play in the.
I'm very excited. Well, tell me about those in just a minute, because first, I understand that Amy, you've actually seen the fabric of the multiverse itself. Oh, real quick, our producer Adam is correcting me that he did indeed win for Dallas Buyers Club. So that is Academy Award winner.
You think
Academy
he can't
winner.
play the Hulk? Wow.
The thing about it, I do think he would have gone a little bit more brooding with Bruce than like apologetically angry. I guess I don't know, but I think his instinct would be a little bit more like, oh, I'm gonna get into the angst of this, instead of, you know, the way Mark does it is kind of like a shruggy guy, like, I don't know, and I don't know if you know, like the emoji.
Is that Mark Ruffalo on the Zoom call with us?
No, but this is on the Zoom call.
Yes, show us this surprise that you have for us, Amy. Give us some context for this.
I don't know why I needed to know this, but I did, and so I did. I did a baby match with Mark Ruffalo and the animated Hulk. And then I did it with Matthew McConaughey and the animated Hulk, just to see what their babies would look like. So let's see what I got here. This first one is
oh no,
this is Mark Ruffalo and the Hulk.
That is a 12 head baby.
2020 keeps delivering. My goodness.
Just like a really nice jawline and a tiny mouth, I guess. And then here's Matthew McConaughey. Same tiny, you know, fuller lips, but also fuller cheeks. Either way, a questionably adorable baby. But that might be what, I mean, I don't know. Like, it does seem like Mark Ruffalo's baby is more suited to Hulk out than, you know, this Keebler elf.
I also have to say that I'm pretty upset by this website, which is just makemebabies.com with a button that says keep making babies.
Yeah, it's for keep making babies. I don't look, I'm not gonna say who it's for, but I might fit that demographic, and I may or may not have done this before.
It's for asking forbidden questions pertaining to the Incredible Hulk, as we all know.
That's right. I need to stop screen sharing so y'all don't have to see this anymore. Yeah.
Yes, please get that. That's the real cursed child right there. But Dani, so you brought up what character Matthew McConaughey should play in the MCU. So I want to hear that. Who do you think that our sweet boy Matthew should actually play?
I think he should be a villain. I think he should be a villain because he's played, you know, multiple villains before. I think that's a fun, as much as with Bruce Banner, I'd want him to be kind of silly in the way that Thor is. I feel like that would be his vibe if he played, he'd probably have the comedic timing of Chris Hemsworth, but as a villain, I think he could be Mr. Sinister. I think that would be really dope. I think he has the look for it. I think he would like totally immerse himself into it. Hopefully not on a Jared Leto level where he's what is it called? My head is blanking now. That type
Morpheus.
of acting.
Method
No,
acting.
yes,
Mobius.
method acting. As an actress, I should know. But anyways, I think that he could play that really well. And I don't know, maybe it'll happen. I am the casting director for Aladdin. So.
And as we know, same cinematic universe. If you sat through the post-credit scene of the most recent Marvel movie, Aladdin makes an appearance. He walks by the camera and says, "I'm here too."
Everything is under one company now, so it doesn't
Yes.
matter. So yes,
Look,
yeah.
It's all going to get explained by Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It'll make sense soon enough. But yeah, I love that idea of Mr. Sinister. I'm picturing him almost as this like his character from The Wolf of Wall Street, just this like creepy business dude, but with his like incredible Matthew McConaughey energy. I definitely think a villain is the way to go. I definitely have seen in the past people suggesting him for a character like Adam Warlock, like this almost this like man out of time, and it's a real fish out of water scenario. So that could be interesting as well. We have Captain Fatbush in the chat saying Matthew McConaughey as Deacon Frostblade. Yeah, I mean,
I actually went directly to villain too, but then I was like looking around at villains, and one villain that actually turns out to be a hero is the Silver Surfer, and I think he could probably nail that. Just I know that he may never lose his Texan accent, but I'm from Texas and we are aliens, so that could pan out.
See, I love the idea that they would really lean into the surfer aspect of this with Matthew McConaughey.
I know his
like,
curly blonde hair.
Like instead of this like detached, like metallic man just surfing through space and time, like heralding doom for like Lost Worlds, just literally the Matthew McConaughey character we got in was it The Beach Bum?
Yeah, the Beach Bum.
Yeah, in that movie, but just painted chrome. Like I would definitely want to see that.
I'm on team Adam Warlock. But I don't want some sort of 2020ified Adam Warlock. I want the 70s, that little unitard he's wearing with that flowing hair. That's what I want. I mean, I want Adam Warlock in the MCU period, and I hope if and when they do that, he is more of like the 70s style versus a modernized style. McConaughey would kill that role. He would be awesome.
Look, Adam Warlock would also be found playing bongos on the beach, absolutely naked. So I think it's spot on casting right there.
Exactly.
So something else I wanted to ask about is this got me thinking about, there's all of these people in Marvel Cinematic Universe history who came very close to getting a role. Like, I think Jim Halpert. What is your real name? John Krasinski, right? John Krasinski. He was almost Captain America. He was very far along in the casting process. You have Tom Cruise in the running for Iron Man. Wesley Snipes was trying to make a Blade movie forever and a day. Excuse me, not Blade movie, a Black Panther movie forever and a day. Wesley Snipes is Blade. So I'm curious, are there any other rumored casting or actors who were in the running for a Marvel role that you think would have just crushed it had they actually been given the chance? So Ian, let's start with you on this.
Again, we keep scooping each other. Tom Cruise is Iron Man. I'm a big Tom Cruise guy. I love everything he does. And I think what would have been nice if he was in the MCU as Iron Man, there would have been a lot more practical effects. I think he could have forced his way in there to do some really like insane stunts. They would have built some real, full on working, suit for him and all the other Avengers. And I think like Tom Cruise has that same charisma and energy that, that Robert Downey Jr. has. And I think Robert Downey Jr. is a great, Iron Man, but Tom, he could have easily filled those shoes and taken that in an awesome direction.
That would have been a very different experiencing that dazzling white smile on an IMAX screen. It's just
coming out of the caves in Iron Man 1. Oh, you look great.
He would have insisted on building his own suit in a cave with a box of scraps. That's just the kind of guy he is. He would have died actually flying an Iron Man suit. Like there's no way around it. But Dani and Amy, same question. Is there an almost was actor for the MCU that you wish had gotten that role?
I not really. I'm kind of glad. I don't know. There's so many castings that kind of wound up perfect. Like I'm glad. I think the main one's coming to mind is Jason Momoa for Drax, and I just love how Drax came out. So I don't, as much as I want to see Jason Momoa do everything, it kind of I think it worked better the way it did work out.
Plus, I can't picture Drax with a gigantic beard and long flowing locks. It just he needs that
I
Dave
know
Bautista
on that,
build.
yeah, the self-tape, will you shave? Like, and him going,
No, like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah, exactly. That was it.
Mine isn't in the MCU, but I did originally for She-Hulk, they really wanted, or there was a lot.
Uh-oh.
We lost you there for a second. I think you're muted.
I'm back.
Previously on Dani.
They were trying to stop my truth. I was like, originally for She-Hulk just cuts out.
Cut the mic. They can't know this.
I think there were rumblings about Stephanie Beatrice, and she even said like, I can't because of my schedule, which I think that got moved anyways because of COVID. But I thought she would have been a great She-Hulk.
She would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's definitely like a sort of like other, like a what if scenario I would love to see play out. The one I always think of is Rocket Raccoon, because I believe Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler were both being considered to voice the character. And I just love the idea of Adam Sandler's voice coming out of that little raccoon's body. Mainly, I just want.
He would have had so much less energy, though. You know, like his energy.
You never know.
When it would have been wrong.
I'm picturing Rocket in some sort of uncut Infinity Gem scenario, and that is 100% what I want to see.
Yeah, Rocket's gambling away all the gems on some MCU themed basketball game or something like that.
Maybe we would have had like a weird improvised song too. That would have been great.
Oh my god!
Weird acoustic Rocket the Raccoon, barely rhyming, third grade rhyme song. The Gold Chain MJ says Emily Blunt as Captain Marvel, and I think as an actress, great. Here's what I think. Captain Marvel was so big for just like a woman's superhero movie, and I think Brie Larson has just spoken out a little bit more. So this is where like the way you as an actor are able to promote ideals comes into play, and I think Brie Larson was absolutely the person to champion feminism.
And it's never too late for Emily Blunt to join this universe later. There's been rumors and rumblings and fan castings about getting her and John Krasinski in the MCU as Reed Richards and Sue Storm. But again, we'll have to see what plays out in the days and weeks ahead. But I just want to leave the MCU behind for a minute in the interest of time and move on, because it doesn't matter if it's Wabbit season or Duck season, because when it comes to classic 90s cartoons produced by Steven Spielberg, it's reboot season. In addition to the Animaniacs coming to Hulu, Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios announced they're going to be rebooting Tiny Toons Adventures for HBO Max and Cartoon Network. So this new series titled Tiny Toons Looniversity will follow the likes of Buster, Babs, Hampton, Plucky, and the gang as they go into considerable debt for a piece of paper that says they're higher learners. So my question to the panel is, what do you want to see from a Tiny Toons reboot? Especially, they are aging the characters up a bit, it seems, sending them off to college. So what do you want to see from this series? So Amy, let's start with you.
I guess the first thing, it sounds maybe weird, and I know kids watch, it's mainly for kids. Kids are the ones who are going to be watching it, but I would like to see amidst the hijinks and the shenanigans, a little bit of some real world, maybe not situations, but definitely real world themes that kind of, I think were missed in the 90s, where it was just all about fun and hijinks, and maybe this time around they can learn something,
Yeah, just the dangers of Adderall, trying to cram too much for your finals because you were too hungover to go to class, or something that I have no firsthand experience in. So yeah, I do agree. They have a great opportunity here, and I don't think that, same with Animaniacs, like they always found a way to speak to both sort of the children watching and adults watching at the same time. I think that's something that those sort of Spielberg animated series
necessary, hitting people with giant hammers, totally necessary. Just around that, maybe there's at least a question that's gonna pop into a kid's mind. That's really all I want.
You want to see these tunes in a philosophy 101 seminar.
Is that so hard to ask?
No, it's not at all. Dani, same question to you. What would you like to see from a Tiny Toons reboot?
What would I like to see? A tiny Michael Jordan. That's what I want to see. I honestly think that this is gearing up for Space Jam. Like, I feel like a lot of kids, like, we obviously grew up with this, but I feel a lot of kids today don't. Like, my niece and nephew don't really watch Looney Tunes, even though I know it was rebooted. So I think that this is specifically a push to get them back into this IP. So I do feel like we're going to be seeing the original Looney Tunes teaching the Tiny Toons as they did, like, how to be Toons or Looney Tunes. I agree with Amy that I do want to see, like, educational. I think that's what Animaniacs does, which actually came after Tiny Toons. So I think that they kind of fed off of each other. Another thing about Tiny Toons is it was only around for 2 years. It was like 1990 to 1992. Isn't that crazy? So I feel like most of us watched it in syndication.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't actually watch the original run, but that's how, like, long standing it was. How
Yeah,
big
I think I watched it lodged into another show. Like, it was
definitely part of that, like, either Fox Kids or
Yeah.
WB, like
Yeah.
Kids W, this would be Kids WB. Just like that block of shows that would either be on like before I went to school or right after I got home from school. Throw a little Jackie Chan Adventures in there, some Yu-Gi-Oh! You got yourself a cartoon stew going. It was, just a great time in my memory. But I'm curious, with this sort of trend of 90s, like this sort of, Hollywood and in a larger sense is obviously strip mining our youthful nostalgia for profit in the cynical view, but like, I think you could still do some very cool, savvy stuff, like what we're seeing with the Animaniacs trailer right now, and hopefully with this series as well. But are there any other 90s animated series that are in need of a reboot that have not yet been announced? Ian?
I would have said Animaniacs, obviously, a couple months ago, or maybe a year or so ago. But other ones I would love to see, especially with Disney Plus right now, I would love to see an X-Men animated series reboot. I mean, people love that show, and it's on Disney Plus right now, I believe. So I'm wondering if Disney is looking at the numbers, deciding if they think they're going to be able to, do another boot of that. I would love to see something along the lines of the Batman animated series too. I mean, that's obviously a well-loved. They just did a big old re-release on Blu-ray. Those would be awesome. And then the other one for me would be Hey Arnold. I loved Hey Arnold, the original hipster in my life, with his cool outfits and his awesome loft room with his cool friends running around Brooklyn. I mean, I think there'd be a cool, like, reboot with that, sort of showing how he could still be tech savvy in a different way, and that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, what the hell? I get, like, Arnold's room was so nice. I remember as a kid being like, wait, that's an option? What the hell, mom and dad? What's going on here?
His grandparents really splurged on him. They knew their priorities was to make sure Arnold had, like, a retractable roof and TV that came out of his wall and stuff.
Yeah.
I love Hey Arnold, but I also feel like he grew up to be Ryan Gosling's character in La La Land, where he just, like, trying to teach people about jazz. Like, I feel like that's who he grew up. So, like, keep him young. Keep him young. The thing that I want to see is All Real Monsters.
I wrote that down. Yes, that is it.
Like, it should never have been canceled. It was, like, one of the most iconic. I know everyone goes to Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy, but All Real Monsters should be in there too. Every time someone talks about the foundation of Nickelodeon, it's so good.
It's so good. It's also weird. It's the weirdness of Ren and Stimpy, the darkness of, like, just what life is, and it's just so perfect. The characters,
the monster design is so cool too.
The animation was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great way to split the difference between shows like Doug and Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. It was an era where so much of kids animation was, like, actively gross and, like, just it was a very, like, in your face, like, aggressively hard to look at. But All Real Monsters, like, it had some of that, but it had, that kind of heart that you wanted from a show like that.
I couldn't watch. It was Cat Dog and Beavis and Butthead and Rocko's Modern Life.
Yes.
All of those were very, like, I think Rocko's was my favorite out of those four, but really it was really tough for me there were just so many butts. It was butts all over the place. And and I know that life is all about butts, but it was a lot. And All Real Monsters, it was like, well, they're monsters, so the gross things can happen, but it for some reason didn't feel like my human body was on display. I don't know. Very I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I just saw my butt in those animated butts, and I didn't like it.
Sometimes when you gaze into the abyss, it gazes back. I saw a couple people in the chat and Captain Fatbush saying Freakazoid, which I think is a fantastic answer. Like that, especially right now, you could do some really fun stuff where even if it's a more sort of like adult animation leaning reboot, you could really lampoon the superhero genre and have a good time with that while capitalizing on nostalgia. Let's see what else we have. Michael Hurd saying Big Bad Beetleborgs. Okay. I will get that greenlit for you. We have Marbo 4 saying Pirates of Darkwater and Bruce Paulson saying Ghostbusters.
I have to say, I would drop another one in here because you saying that, I was like, oh, maybe Scooby-Doo. But then I remembered my boyfriend's nephew watches Scooby-Doo crossed over with Batman. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what's going on here.
Now, I will say,
understand.
quick side note, if you haven't read any of these, DC Comics did a fantastic series of crossovers and original comics based on Hanna-Barbera characters, and the one about Snagglepuss and the one about the Flintstones are both phenomenal. Highly recommended. I felt weird recommending them, and I was like, this is like high art. Like this is very good indeed. So definitely check them out, and not just for a nostalgia sake.
I read the Flintstones one, and you will cry.
Yes. Buckle up. Well, speaking of crying, that is a cousin of screaming, which leads us to our next topic. Spooky season may officially be over, and we're now entering into thankful season, but I do want to take a moment to talk about one of our most popular recent articles on Nerdist. So a study conducted by Broadband Choices tracked the heart rates of 50 different people of different age groups who watched over 100 hours of scary movies to determine the quote-unquote scariest movies ever made. So the study concluded the scariest movie of them all is Scott Derrickson's 2012 film Sinister, during which viewers' heart rates rose to 86 beats per minute, a 32% increase from their resting heart rates, and the highest rise in BPM of any movie in the study. Now, others in the top 10 included Insidious, The Conjuring, Hereditary, and Paranormal Activity, just to name a few. So, I mean, obviously you can probably poke a bunch of holes with this study's methodology, but what do you make of this study's findings, and what is the scariest movie that you've ever seen? And Dani, we're going to start with you on this one.
Well, I think that it was fascinating that most of the more recent films were the ones, it's not even the ones that, came out before we were born, which I would say The Exorcist for the longest time was scary to everybody, also for religious purposes. It was like so hands off, and I was going to be expelled. Is that the right, disowned if I watched it? But I think they also utilize all those films that you named utilize makeup, like the actual creature, really well. As opposed to just special effects. It's like actually the makeup work that they did to be terrifying. I remember in Insidious, we all remember the little, when he comes next to his head, the little Darth Maul-esque person.
Yeah.
And then also the soundtracks. The soundtracks, I think, actually really do play a huge part in making and terrifying you. So that's what I think. And then what scared me the most would be, I think, things that I saw when I was younger that I shouldn't have seen, to be honest. Because anything I watch now, like I just watched The Conjuring again, which is very terrifying, but I don't think it hits the way as I watched The Ring when I was too young to see it. I'd never seen a scary movie like that before. It just broke so many different elements and tropes and stuff that I wasn't used to. And then House on Haunted Hill, the 99 version, actually terrified me. The opening scene is them cutting a man in an insane asylum, and that was too much for me. And I watched it repeatedly because we had HBO, I think, and that was like, they showed like 4 movies and just like repeatedly. So that was, but yeah, those were my growing up ones that I still think are scary just because I hold on to it from being younger.
Yeah, you just have that moment crystallized in your brain. I think it's a lot of times those things that some of them aren't even supposed to be scary, but they just frighten you because of the way it's presented at the time you experience it. Like for me as a kid, it was always the scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit of Judge Doom's, like his scream as his eyeballs pop out. And it's just burned into my brain as the most horrifying image ever committed to a feature film ever. now watching it as an adult, I'm like, yeah, it's upsetting. Maybe not as scary as I thought when I was a kid, but it's still, I have that childhood memory just seared in there into the wrinkles of my
I
brain.
thought you were gonna say the dip. That was like,
Yeah,
I
the
literally
dip.
wrote down like that was the scariest to me. I just am traumatized. Don't show children.
Exactly. Yeah, don't show systematic torture and murder of beloved
It's like-
cartoon characters.
It's the equivalent of a puppy being put down. It's like really hard to watch. Anyways, thank you, Disney.
Yes, thank you Disney for those childhood traumas. But Ian, same question to you. What I would say, what do you think of this study? But what's also the scariest movie you've ever seen?
The study is interesting. I mean, I think those are pretty accurate. I think a lot of the reason like the more modern movies are there is because they probably had to go in blind, I'm assuming. So maybe some of the older ones, they had trouble finding movies that people hadn't seen before. So I think those are pretty good. I mean, I love all those movies on there. The scariest movie I have seen, I shout out to The Ring also. When I was a kid, I saw it in like 7th or 6th grade. When they opened that closet door and her jaw's like hanging off, that traumatized me. But more, yeah, exactly, Amy, right? But
I faced many a D&D monster off of just big mouth.
I saw Paranormal Activity in theaters, and I saw it before people knew what it was. Like someone came to my college campus and handed out flyers and was like, "There's this new documentary. It's airing downtown, so go watch it." And I went with my friends, and we had no idea what it was. And then when it ended, there were no credits. The lights just went up.
Oh shit!
And so I was like, what did I just watch? And that was like the first of like the new found footage type movies and stuff like that like completely messed me up for a little bit. And I was older then. So those two are the ones I think of when I'm thinking of being absolutely terrified.
Both wonderful pillars of youthful trauma right there. The Ring and Paranormal Activity. I'm curious, I wonder if there's like, it has something to do with jump scares and sort of the rise in that as a scare mechanic. Because I saw someone in the chat, Stefan Zubal, saying Rosemary's Baby, which is just a movie full of constant dread and like unease. And like the scary moments are very scary indeed, but it's maybe not as like in your face as some of these moments in more modern films.
Yeah.
But
it also, I mean, in this day and age, where it's going pretty immediately. You're not afraid of going like, clearly she's having the devil's baby just because of all of the pop culture stuff that's happening. But I think that was very new in the 60s, right? When it was made, that was such a new, we're not going to talk about it thing. Just, I guess, like Dani said, for religious purposes.
Yeah, but like shout out to my boys Ari Aster and Robert Eggers. Ari Aster did Hereditary and Midsummer, and Eggers The Lighthouse and The Witch. Those are slow burn movies, and I think are very, very scary. I think Hereditary was on that list. So there is a place for the slow burn, but I think traditionally the jump scares are really what get people going.
Get that cardiovascular pace, get your heart pounding out of your chest. Before we move on, Amy, I do want to ask you as well.
Yeah.
I know you're a big scary movie aficionado. It's evidenced by, if you haven't seen it, folks, you have to see Amy's walkthrough of the Trick or Treat maze at Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, and I didn't know that I had a buffer to monsters and things that are scary by clapping your hands. Like that was just an instinctive move. And it did not work, and I don't recommend it, but you'll see it loud and clear in that. And I had to go back and watch it and be like, I clapped my hands. That was meant to protect me. I don't know. So no, the top 10 on that Nerdist list, I had seen none of them because I know myself. And I know that I can't watch. I can't do that. I just can't do it. Hereditary, I've seen the trailers for a lot of these, and I'm like, no, because what sticks in my brain is the images. So Paranormal Activity I did see, and there are nights still to this day where I'm like, chicken feet, and just like looking around, making sure there are no chicken feet. The Ring was all about imagery. But as a child, this is where I'm coming from. This is what scared us the most as children. It was Hook with Robin Williams. And the green smoke coming in through the window of Captain Hook, we had to make sure all the windows were sealed so that green smoke couldn't get us. And that's like the mildest scare factor ever. Like, I don't even think that was meant to be that scary. We were terrified of green smoke. So do the math. Like I grew into a very anxious adult.
So you must have been traumatized by the end of The Rock as well. No, it can't be.
It's back.
Well, let's move on from there to talk about another childhood staple for many of us that was also surprisingly dark and scary in parts. I'm talking, of course, about Animorphs. Now, for those who don't know, Animorphs, they are making a live-action movie adaptation announced earlier this year. It was being made in conjunction with the series' original creators, Catherine Applegate and Michael Grant. Now, I say was because as of last week, they have left the project, citing creative differences. On Twitter, Michael Grant said, "With great sadness, we've decided not to participate further in the picture start effort. We may post a full explanation on Reddit later, but for now, let's go with creative differences." And then he linked to a blog post for context by Percy Jackson author Rick Riordan, who infamously hated how the film franchise based on his books just butchered his creation. So that was a bit of a jarring moment. Grant followed up with a clarification saying, "They're not up to anything nefarious. Decisions we had hoped to be involved in were made without us, as is their legal right. But we have a policy. We don't claim or accept credit for things we didn't actually do." So for those who've been living under a rock, Animorphs is a 54 book long series written by K.A. Applegate, the pen name of Catherine Applegate and Michael Grant, and later ghostwriters for the later novels. And it told the story of a group of teenagers who waged a secret war against alien invaders known as Yeerks, who slithered into our weak human ear canals and operated us like the beef puppets that we are. And these teens had the ability, using alien tech, to transform into animals, any animal they touched, a power they used to wage a secret war against the Yeerks. It all sounds kind of like over the top and ridiculous on its face, but it was actually a series that did not shy away from brutal depictions of war and ended on a pretty bleak note when all was said and done. So I'm curious for the panel, with all of that in mind, what do you think this means for the movie? Is this ultimately bad news for the movie? They seem to be giving them their blessing in a way. They just don't want to be involved with it any further. So Ian, let's start with you on this one.
Creative differences is always a questionable thing to hear. I mean, it happens all the time with directors. Obviously, the recent Star Wars franchise, we hear that quite a bit, to varying results. But I mean, in this case, since it is the creator, it makes me a little bit nervous. That being said, Scholastic movies, I think, are pretty good. They don't have many, but I really enjoyed the first Goosebumps movie. That was clever as hell. I thought it really did a good job of adapting the series and sort of taking all the things that, people our age grew up with, like really enjoyed, and still made it relevant for kids. So if they're able to keep that sort of like creative like guide that they did for Goosebumps, I think it should be all right. If the team behind it is strong there, but when it's the authors taking off of it, puts a little worry on the product.
Yeah, especially when it is something that so many people have a deep-rooted attachment to. I'm curious as well because, this was a YA series that wasn't afraid to go dark with it at times. And I wonder if the people are worried about skewing too dark in this film. So I'm curious how they're going to approach this moving forward. Like, have there been any movie adaptations that have been better off without a source material creator's involvement? Like
The Shining?
Danny? The Shining. Depends on who you ask. The first one so go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. No, Dan, please.
I was just going to say the other one came to mind was the Stephen King thing, which was The Mist, which I believe they came up with an even more dastardly ending for that movie, which if you haven't seen it, buckle up. It is capital D dark.
No, I think you were exactly correct of that. They probably wanted to treat it more adult-like, and I think that's why us as kids latched onto these. I also was a huge fan of Everworld, had all of those, which K. Applegate also did, which was also pretty adult heavy, but honestly, kids don't want you to feed them things that are little kid-like. And I can see executives thinking like, well, we need to make sure that we can capitalize on young families. And unfortunately, then I think there are times when they're like, well, I just can't sign off on this. I also think a lot of times with executives, they'll be like, will they get it though? I think we need to hit them over the head because they won't get it. So a lot of times when you see like, why is this really smart sci-fi franchise hitting me over the head with this metaphor? It's because an executive told them that nobody would get it. And so I think that that's also what happens a lot of times is with these sci-fi shows and fantasies. It's just the creators are like, no, I can't, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. And they end up, being like, well, I'm not going to have my name on this. I don't want people to think that I made this decision. So Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
that was
think
my
that's a
rant.
great no, I think that's a great point. Like kids are smarter than many adults give them credit for. They're
Mhm.
savvy consumers of content sometimes, and like savvy readers in particular. Like I think back to when I was a kid and I picked up Redwall by Brian
Mm.
Jacques, and like on its face you see these cute woodland critters like embarking on a like medieval style quest, and it gets pretty bleak in places. Like there's death, there's destruction, there's me learning about what a vole is. There's so much in there where you're like, okay, if you look at it's like people that look at Watership Down from a distance and think like, oh, an animated movie with animals for kids, and then it is so much darker than you give them credit for, and that's how you get more interesting adults sometimes, because you're forcing kids to confront some of these things and think about them critically through a story like this. But Amy, I'm curious as well. What do you think about this? What does it mean for the movie? And
Well,
or
I was a
go
big
ahead, go ahead.
reader. Oh, sorry. Zoom, y'all. I still need to get good with the weird time lapse of the internet. But anyway, I'm talking, so I'll keep talking. I read all of the books as a kid. I was so obsessed with them, and I agree with the rest of my co-panelists that I think what executives might have latched onto is kids turning into animals, fucking cool. And then everyone going, that's cool, yes, but is that really what it's about? And the executives going, probably. And the writers going like, no, like this was a way in, this was a vehicle for us to say what we really think about the world, which is like I just love stories, and I loved them when I was a kid, of kids being cool on their own, taking agency for themselves and knowing better than the adults, because and that theme is kind of hammered in these books. Especially, I remember there being something weird about broccoli, and it's like even the broccoli is bad, and kids know that broccoli's bad. And do y'all remember that? I don't remember what it was, but it was like broccoli is an alien life form or something like that. And I don't, somebody in chat Google it. Broccoli has something to do with it, but kids by nature don't like vegetables, they don't like green vegetables, they don't like broccoli. And that theme, it kind of in a silly way in the book, is made like very important. Like, yeah, broccoli's totally alien and the kids know better. So I also, there was an Animorphs TV show, and I
Yes, ran
remember
for two seasons.
I loved the books, and I didn't love the TV series, and I don't know where they missed the mark. I was too young and I don't remember it, but I remember being like, oh, I guess the cool CG was kind of neat, but that it just wasn't why I was reading the books.
Yeah, I think it's also hard when you're translating that, especially like in like however many years before, like 10, 20 years prior, like it's hard to hit those sort of darker tones in that environment. Uh, I don't think the TV landscape was ready for a like sort of in your face kids series where they're like confronting the horrors of war while turning into falcons and ferrets and all that stuff. But you know what the world is ready for? You know what horrors of war the world is ready for, featuring kids? The Mandalorian Season 2. It's back. The wee Baby Yoda, Din Djarin, they're reunited. See, we have him in the studio today. He made a special appearance. The wee Baby Yodito.
Yodito, look at him. Oh my gosh, my little
He's
king.
so cute. He's so cute. I mean, the season premiere now, spoiler alert, just quick spoiler alert. If anyone hasn't seen it, now's your chance to run screaming into the hills, jump into your Sarlacc pit, whatever you need to do. But we're about to spoil it for you because the season premiere gave us Space Daddy Timothy Oliphant as Marshall Cobb Vanth, the return of R5D4, the droid with the worst motivator in the galaxy, our first look at a very sandworm-esque crate dragon, and the shocking answer to the the shocking answer to the Schrodinger's Fett dilemma. Is Boba Fett alive or dead? The answer is that he's very alive despite all odds. He made it out of that Sarlacc pit, and now he wants his armor back. So I want to get a sense from the panel. What were your reactions to the season premiere and thoughts on that episode 1 ending reveal? So Amy, let's start with you on this one.
Here's the thing. No, I'm no on the Mandalorian, and I stopped
Really?
I stopped being in on the Bryce Dallas Howard episode. I was just like, what is happening here? And there's too much other good television out there for me to give it the time of day. So I before that I was kind of in, and then it just had me, and then it lost me. So I will say the way to get me back into it is Weird Al needs to write a song.
Wow.
Weird Al, I know you're in the chat, so you have your marching orders. Please start composing to collab with Ludwig Göransson. We all want to hear it.
I will say too that The Witcher came out around the same time, and I found the characters identical, and it turned me off. It was too brooding, almost robotic, emotionless men, and I thought The Witcher did it better.
Is it because Henry Cavill is not wearing a mask that obscures his handsome face?
I mean, I love it when Henry Cavill acts without a shirt on. So.
Check that
Well, then
box.
I don't know you didn't like the Bryce Dallas Howard episode, because that was like teeming with romance. Like that
But it was all contrived.
No, listen,
like
that widow was willing to risk it all, and she was all of us. She was all of us. She was like, "Do you take that helmet off?" Well, you don't need to. I mean, you just need to, just pull something aside. I'm sorry, this is a PG-13 show. I watched that like multiple times because the sexual tension we didn't get to have, and so it was like finally we get to have some type of emotional romance response with this like man who has been traumatized. Amy, that might be why he's closed off. Besides the fact that he's having to act with a literal Beskar shield. I could go on forever. Anyways, I love that episode, Bryce. And I told you that I did when I tweeted at you. I said, thank you for, it was spicy. What were we talking about? John Leguizamo had a cameo in this. That is what I will say.
He did. Everyone, including us, we were convinced during the trailers that was Mark Hamill in some sort of secret Mandalorian cameo. But yeah, I hear you. It's nice that this show gives us many different shades, because you have that one episode where they're about to put the bone in bone broth, and you have this one where like you are getting the answers to all of these long-standing lore questions in a way that is fan servicey without being too cloying. At least that's how I parsed it. Now I'm curious, Ian, what were your thoughts about this episode?
So I appear to be in between the groups here. So I love Star Wars more than anything. I like have no issue with the Disney movies really. Like I love any Star Wars is good Star Wars for me. But yeah, Mandalorian, like the first season, I liked it. Like it was good, but there are so many cool characters and they're just gone like the next episode. And so for me, I just needed more, because I think, echoing what Amy said, like I need a little bit more from the Mando himself, like emotionally. Like I didn't really get what he was doing. So this season I'm kind of stoked on, because he has like a clear task of getting our Baby Yoda back to where he needs, or it needs to go. But yeah, and then this episode, for me, the takeaways were I think someone in chat said, yeah, I for sure think that was Anakin's pod racer that Oliphant was speeding around on. But I think the CGI looks awesome. Like I didn't think the CGI in season 1, like it was good, but season 2, Disney was like, oh, look at all these subscribers. Let's use all this money and make this show look awesome. Because it like this sandworm, the sand dragon, the crate dragon looked like amazing. I thought the structure was very similar to when you brought the Bryce Dallas Howard episode. I thought it was like a little too similar to that. Like the theme and sort of like what they were trying to do was really, to me, almost identical. But I do have hopes for the show. Like I want to love it. I like bits and pieces of it, but there's just something there that's like missing for me. And I'm hoping, like the way Oliphant, he didn't die. Like I was nervous he was going to die at the end of the episode. And then I was like, well, there's another cool character gone. But since he seems to be still around, I hope that they're making a more cohesive story for our boy Mando to fly around the galaxy or stick around in.
That's an interesting critique about the similarity to that Bryce Dallas Howard episode, because that was very much like a riff on Seven Samurai. It felt like, where, you have to help these villagers defend themselves from the roving bandits, and felt very much in sort of line with that classic samurai tale, lone wolf and cub style inspiration that the Mando has suffused into its DNA. But I would argue this one, they went outside of the village to do their fighting, so it's clearly very different.
That's true.
True. You just can't say no. It is interesting though. I do like that it is kind of at times a monster of the week show, and in a vein, it's because that's kind of a genre. We got that a bit with The Witcher, but we don't really get that too much anymore. Everything has to be so intensely serialized in a way where it all has to be interconnected, and this thing tees up the next thing, tees up the next thing, and there is that overarching story here. For me, I think the Mando strikes a very good balance, and it's what's made me love Star Wars again, because I was feeling very kind of left cold by the sequel trilogy. I liked elements of it, but I think it was also partially the fandom around it and just such the death of nuance in any conversation, the just extreme vitriol around everything revolving around that. And here everyone's like, oh, look at this. Look at this like strong, like gunslinger, silent type who's palling around with this sweet baby Yoda. And like it was pulling in all these influences and shades of the galaxy far, far away that I'd wanted to see for so long. But I'm curious now because they are bringing in elements of existing canon. Like you have Boba Fett looking at the end of the episode. Is that just meant to be kind of like a tacit acknowledgement that he's alive? Is he going to have a larger role this season? You know, there's other rumors and reports about characters like Ahsoka Tano coming in, characters like Commander Rex, who Tamira Morrison is also supposed to portray. So are you concerned at all that we're going to rely too heavily on existing canon, or do you think this can be kind of connective tissue to propel the Mando story?
So oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The thing with Mando that I think people loved a lot is that it had no ties to anything people loved already. So no one could get mad at it. And I thought that was like the genius of the show. So I'm a little hesitant that Disney's going to start putting in like a little too much fan service or bringing in all these things because people are very stoked Boba Fett is back. But if he does like a couple things where people are like, that's not my Boba, it can backfire like pretty badly. And Ahsoka too, like Ahsoka, shout out Ashley Eckstein, has like such a fandom behind her that I feel like if things happen that aren't what people picture Ahsoka doing, it's not going to work. So that's my concern there for Disney, but you know, who am I?
The eternal question. Mankind has looked to the twin sons of Tatooine and asked, who am I? But before we move on, Dani, I want to get your thoughts on that ending reveal and sort of like these other teases, what we expect from the season.
Well, I honestly, so Amy Sedaris had kind of teased. She said, if this thing ever divides or buds, let me know. So I was like, oh, is that how they recreate, like reproduce? Are we going to see that? I still, y'all, forever will be asking for a teenage Yoda. I want to see the teen years. Give them to me. I want to see the planet, but I mostly want to see this little Yodito like actually grow up. He's now been a baby for 50 plus years. So wouldn't it be funny if he like stayed a baby and then all of a sudden had a growth spurt?
Yeah, you just see one day he has some stubble.
Oh, he's like a little chest hair or something.
Yeah.
But I definitely think, I don't think we're actually going to run into his people until the final episode. I don't think that they'll let us see it. But I do know, I think that is Ahsoka in this season or next season?
I believe she's been reported as being in this season as played by Rosario Dawson.
Then I believe that Filoni is directing one episode because isn't Favreau directing all the other ones. So I think that that's going to be her intro episode is the one that he's directing. So
yeah, I could definitely see that.
On the Baby Yoda thing, it would be really funny if Baby Yoda, we do hear them speak and it's clear as crystal, and then they develop a smoking habit and then we get this.
Look, that's why death sticks. Yeah, death sticks, they're a hell of a drug. Elon Sleaze-Bogano is just corrupting the youth of this galaxy. God, when will they put that evil to rest? Just some Palpatine menthol sticks. All right, that's enough news for the day. Thank you everyone for that, because now it's time for some Nerdist News trivia. Now we here at the Nerdist News Talks Back Institute for the Trivial Arts, we like to connect our trivia to the barest of threads. So on this date 20 years ago, the first crew arrived at the International Space Station, but because our producer doesn't know that much about space stations, we're doing a movie trivia about space travel instead, because that is a lot easier for us to wrap our
you just took us on a journey.
That's what I aim to do each and every time. That's the guarantee, or your money back guaranteed. All right, so question number 1. Do we have a pen, pencil, or crayon, something to write with? All right. So in the movie Moon, Sam Bell's shift at the lunar mine is up after how many years? Is it A, 5 years, B, 10 years, C, 3 years, or D, 1 year? In the movie Moon, Sam Bell's shift to the lunar mine is up after how many years? A, 5, B, 10, C, 3, or D, 1?
Are we showing
Dani
you?
looks real confident.
Yes. Let's see those answers.
Confident.
Yes, you are projecting As much
That's a
confidence as
D,
Sam Bell
like
did.
my name. That's a D, like my name.
That's
The answer is unfortunately C, like 3 years, like Sam Bell's shift to the lunar mine, but should have been 1. I'll talk to Duncan about doing a director's cut where he changes that plot point. Question number 2 though.
That was a
Astronaut
great
Chuck.
movie.
It was.
Yeah. I have no further comment, Your Honor.
No further comment. I just loved it.
Question number 2. Astronaut Chuck Baker lands on a planet that's supposed to be devoid of life, but instead he finds a planet inhabited by aliens who live in an idyllic version of 1950s America in this early 2000 film. Is it A, Europa Report, B, Stranded, C, High Life, or D, Planet 51? So astronaut Chuck Baker lands on a planet supposed to be devoid of life. Instead, he finds a world inhabited by aliens living in an idyllic version of 1950s America in this early 2000s film. Is it A, Europa Report, B, Stranded, C, High Life, or D, Planet 51?
Sorry,
I've only heard
Adam.
of one of those movies.
All right,
I
let's
went
see.
with A.
The answer is D, Planet 51.
Dang, Ian! All right.
It's a 2009 animated film featuring the voices of Justin Long, Jessica Biel, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
The 51 was the giveaway. You said mid-century America, right?
That's yes, I did indeed. It's everything is overpriced and looks great in your apartment.
Yes.
All right, question number 3. The movie Sunshine, this is a true or false question. True or false? The movie Sunshine is about a crew aboard a space station who are tasked with jumpstarting the dying sun in an effort to keep it from dying. True or false? In the movie Sunshine, a crew aboard a space station must jumpstart the dying sun in an effort to keep it from burning out. The answer is true.
Hey,
Ian.
Yeah,
There it is.
Ian. There, you're off a roll. We're on a roll.
See, keep this trash talk coming. This is giving me life.
The plan is just to take out Ian.
Yes. All right.
How dare you already have won this game, Ian?
All right. Question number 4, folks. In Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, who is Protozoa? Is it A, a supercomputer, B, a pop star, C, a mysterious computer hacker, or D, a TV show host? In Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, who is Protozoa? Is it A, a supercomputer, B, a pop star, C, a mysterious computer hacker, or D, a TV show host? Let's see who watched this DCOM back in the day.
That's a
That's
crown.
a B.
That's
Yes,
a
you
crown.
were all correct. The answer is B.
I have
Pop
to tell you,
star.
I've never seen it. I don't know what that is. But Ian, you went like this.
Oh no, I went too early.
No,
Oh,
you wrote
No,
the B
she,
very.
she was watching your pen
wow.
stroke.
Okay. I'm gonna keep
and
hands
the thing
below.
is, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So
Yeah,
I
hey,
will cheat.
power to ya.
Wow.
Incredible.
Do not play poker with Amy. Wow.
I will. I just will cheat.
Now, fun fact: Protozoa's big hit single is the song "Supernova Girl." And Amy, it was a Disney Channel original movie, often abbreviated to DCOM.
Got it.
Anyway, so number 5, what's the name of the ship in the Ridley Scott film Alien? Is it A, the Capricorn, B, the Nebuchadnezzar, C, the Prometheus, or D, the Nostromo? What is the name of the ship in the Ridley Scott film Alien? Is it A, the Capricorn, B, the Nebuchadnezzar, C, the Prometheus, or D, the Nostromo? Now,
Yeah,
Amy, watch Ian's pen strokes carefully.
I'm throwing Amy off here.
Oh,
Okay, Ian just
shoot.
drew a family circus cartoon.
Will you read them again?
Yes, A, the Capricorn, B, the Nebuchadnezzar, C, the Prometheus, or D, the Nostromo?
Amy, are you
No, but-
waiting for us to write?
You have a 25% chance of being
Wow.
I
correct,
wrote
Amy.
something else. I know. Okay, ready.
Let me see your answer.
I wrote Prometheus.
Nostromo.
What is that, Danny?
It's a C, sorry.
Unfortunately, the answer is D, the Nostromo.
Oh, wait, Ian,
Why did I think it
stupid
was like
plaid shirt,
Mother?
Ian.
Prometheus is a alien movie in the that came out.
Another
That's
Ridley
why-
Scott
that's why I was
movie.
like,
Ridley Scott
that's
movie, yeah.
recognizable to. So why was it named Prometheus? Why was a movie named Prometheus?
That was like the first human, right? They find I forget the exact canon of all those movies.
Yeah, you find out
Okay.
that the origin story of Prometheus and Bob from
There you
Boom.
go.
Kablam, excuse me.
Kablam.
Oh my
Kaboom.
God, let's reboot that. I loved that fun
Yeah, it's
variety
about
show.
damn time. The world needs
Claymation.
Action League now more than ever.
Yes.
Question number 6, folks. True or false? HAL 9000, the AI in 2001: A Space Odyssey, was voiced by a local weatherman because Kubrick heard his voice on TV and found it soothing yet menacing. True or false? HAL 9000, the AI in 2001: A Space Odyssey, was voiced by a local weatherman because Kubrick heard his voice on TV and found it, quote, soothing yet menacing, end quote. Amy,
Oh,
that
sorry.
face speaks volumes. Let's see this. The answer is false.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hal was voiced by
Oh.
Douglas Rain, whose name admittedly sounds like he should be a weatherman, but
Oh
he
my
was but
God.
an actor. Okay,
Adam,
question-
you fooled me. Or whoever
Yes.
wrote this.
This is Adam's doing. He is our lore master and trivia keeper.
I was just like, there's no way he could. That's so strange. He wouldn't have made that up. But I don't know. I'm not.
and
But
it
he
seems
did.
very
Adam, you're-
Kubrick. That is something Kubrick would
It
do.
does,
so.
yeah.
But Danny saw through our lies and guessed correctly.
And Adam's
So-
weirder than I thought.
there, you heard it here first. Question number 7. Which of these movies is actually a musical? Is it A, The American Astronaut, B, The Astronaut's Wife, C, The Astronaut Farmer, or D, Moonwalkers? Which of these movies is actually a musical? Is it A, The American Astronaut, B, The Astronaut's Wife, C, The Astronaut Farmer, or D, Moonwalkers?
Are there any exclamation points at the end of those? 'Cause that will
It depends on
determine
how
my-
enthusiastically you read them.
But
There are
none of them are like
implicits.
within the title. Cat,
Moonwalkers?
exclamation point. Okay. Okay.
All right, let's see those answers, folks.
That's
That's a B? Amy, I have good news for you.
Wow.
You got it right. It is The American Astronaut.
Wow.
It's a
But is it-
2001 film about a space trucker and features songs titled Shaving, Death of a Pirate, and The Silver Miner's Tale. So you got
Did
it.
Adam write
Congratulations.
that musical?
I
Was
was
this
guessing
Adam's
there was-
original musical? There you go.
I was guessing it was like a Michael Jackson like mini movie or something. Moonwalker.
I'm sure there definitely was a Michael Jackson musical that was on various Broadways and West Ends of the world, but not a movie musical. Question number 8, though. In the film The Martian, what food is capable of growing in extreme Mars-like conditions? Is it A, tomatoes, B, potatoes, C, carrots, or D, corn? So in the film The Martian, what food is capable of growing in extreme Mars-like conditions? Is it A, tomatoes, B, potatoes, C, carrots, or D, corn? All right, let's see it, folks.
That's a B.
You are all correct. And when this movie came out, I got a potato in the mail with a stamp and my address written on it because you can do that. That is.
Wasn't that on Shark Tank? Didn't someone have a business that they pitched on?
I think
Shark
so.
Tank where
But
he mailed a potato.
Didn't
that
he
person?
fertilized it
is-
with his excrement? Did he not?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They were potatoes. He made them himself. Number 9. True or false? The movie Space Cowboys stars Tommy Lee Jones, John Hamm, and Jay Leno. True or false? The movie Space Cowboys stars Tommy Lee Jones, John Hamm, and Jay Leno. All right,
That's an F.
unfortunately, it's a T. John Hamm is credited as young pilot, and it's also one of Leno's many IMDb credits where he plays himself.
Did he star in it?
Clever.
Oh,
Very
I think
clever.
it depends on
Dan.
how you are. Look, I
Yep,
am not
he
part of
was-
SAG-AFTRA, so I cannot arbitrate this. Take it
You
up.
said star, and we know that there's a difference between being in a movie and starring in a movie.
Look, to me, he's
But-
the star of every scene he's in.
Somebody had tweeted it's like Jay Leno as the Joker, and it was like, "You want to know how I got these cars?"
By millions of dollars. I would watch that movie in a heartbeat. All right, question number 10. Our long national nightmare is almost over. In what movie does Buzz Aldrin address the audience at the end of the film to tell them the events of the movie didn't actually happen? Is it A, Apollo 18, B, Transformers Dark of the Moon, C, Countdown, or D, Fly Me to the Moon? So in what movie does Buzz Aldrin come out at the end of the movie to tell people that the events of this movie didn't actually happen? Is it A, Apollo 18, B, Transformers Dark of the Moon, C, Countdown, and D, Fly Me to the Moon?
I really want it to be Transformers.
I want it to be Transformers so bad I wrote it down.
So did I. I have
This
not
is-
seen
Oh,
that
no,
movie,
I put A.
unfortunately.
The answer, unfortunately, as much as I wish it was Transformers Dark of the Moon, like they would just hand him so much money for that, it was Fly Me to the Moon, an animated kids movie where Buzz Aldrin fades onto the screen to set the record straight that there weren't actually any flies on Apollo 11. So I'm guessing it's about a fly that is on the spaceship
Gets
that
flown to
winds
the
up
moon.
there. Yes, a very literal title. So we do have a tie that will be broken shortly between Amy and Ian.
How
We
did
have
that
a-
happen?
This is
Wow,
a-
am I just wow?
That happened
Dani,
through
you're
pure
promoted to
guessing.
honorary winner as well.
Look,
But
And it
Have
just
end-
goes to
end
show
game
you,
clap.
kids, you gotta cheat to tie.
it's true. Amy's take no prisoners tactics have yielded dividends. So this is a shout out round. So just use your name as your buzzer when you were ready to answer. Name one actor from the film Apollo 13.
Amy,
Tom Hanks.
Ian, that's
Amy?
not your name.
Oh, I thought you
See-
did the name of the. Okay, I'll give it to Amy. I don't know the
Amy?
rules.
oh, well, you said it. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, but I think I got it wrong. I should say what I was going to say.
Say what you were gonna say.
I was gonna say Steve Buscemi, but that was Armageddon.
That was Armageddon.
you said that you should cheat. You should have just cheated.
I
All right.
I
You know what?
cheated. I
Because of
should've
this,
cheated.
because of this, Dani is the actual winner.
Thank
You were
you.
both disqualified.
Thank
So
But my legal name is Tom Hanks. That's what you don't know. On
yes,
my
I forgot that your stage name is Ian de Borja.
yeah, I was saying my legal name. So, but it's fine. Dani can have it. I'll
Well,
agree.
there'll
to
be an
you.
asterisk next to this trivia victory, but for now, Dani is our champion. And Dani, because you are our trivia champion, congratulations.
Thank
your
you.
belt and checker in the mail. Now you are going to be first up on our 30-second soapbox. This is your chance to talk about anything that's been on your mind. You can promote anything you want to. So as our winner, you are up first. What do you have for us?
Oh, I just wanted to say, if you see a tweet that doesn't apply to you, maybe just keep scrolling. Like if you're like, oh, I read this tweet, I don't relate to this tweet at all, maybe just keep scrolling. There's no reason to tell them that you don't relate to it, that this isn't for you. It's fine. They probably didn't write it for you then. So I would just keep moving along. If you see that someone enjoys something or likes something, you don't need to reply and say that you don't like it or that they clearly are wrong. You can just keep scrolling. So my rant is just keep scrolling. Ask yourself before you tweet, do I need to tweet at this person? Probably not. And that is my rant. Thank you.
I think those are words to live by. I would also add a PS to that. You don't always have to make a joke worse by replying with some notes.
Some of us are professional comedy writers and you just ruined it. Now I want to delete my tweet. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Please, folks, take those words to heart. Now, next up on our soapbox, Ian, the floor is yours.
Yeah, for me, also seconding that tweet comment. I just launched a new podcast called Cinenauts, where each week, we just did our first episode, where each week we go through a movie in the Criterion Collection or the Criterion Channel, and we're going to do some episodes where you debate movies, whether or not they should be on the Criterion. This is my long-winded, long-con game for me to be able to formally talk about Armageddon uncut for over an hour. So that will be coming soon. So check us out, Cinenauts, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And then tomorrow, if you haven't voted, please do it. And if you don't watch news all day, maybe keep up to it when you need to. And then buy yourself a nice meal because you're going to probably want it at some point, whichever way the election goes. So do that. Mental health.
Yes, definitely make sure you're taking care of yourselves out there no matter what. Drink some water, have a nice meal, because you deserve it.
Yep.
Thank you for that. And definitely gonna check out that podcast. And last but not least, Amy,
Hey,
the cheaters box is yours.
Yeah. I am doing a Dungeons and Dragons stream. I'm DMing for charity this Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll be playing with a bunch of fantasy authors. And we will be taking donations to mess with the game. It will be a horror thriller Dungeons and Dragons game in the theme of Evil Dead, where anything can happen. I'll have 2 tables that I'll roll on, based on if you donate during the game, that will determine how many times I roll and when. And I imagine it'll be very, very fun and silly. So tune in. That'll be at Gamehole Con is the name that you should search. They've got a Twitch, and yeah, look for that. I do want to say about the election tomorrow. Know your boundaries for yourself and set them. For example, my boundaries with my family is on the family text chain in emails. We don't discuss politics. Because as much as I would like, everyone's like, you should talk to, I guess I'll say I'm left leaning, they're right leaning. And as much as everyone's like, you need to convince them, it just doesn't work for our family. So if the boundaries are, we don't talk about it at all, I am one of those people with loved ones who I love very much. I find my family incredibly intelligent, and I still, taking myself out of the equation is how I deal with it. So if you need to set boundaries, don't feel afraid.
Awesome. Definitely good advice and a great event coming up. I'm very excited to see that charity stream. I've taken part in one in the past where audience members could alter the events through donations. And let me just say, it makes it a wild experience for the players and a supremely entertaining experience for the people watching. So definitely make sure you take part in that. And if you can't donate, please share that stream out and raise money for a good cause. So thank you all so much for joining me here today. Thank you so much to my panel. Thank you so much to everyone watching at home. And that's it for today's episode of Nerdist News Talks Back. Now, if you want to stick around on the Nerdist channel, we have a new episode of Nerdist Now coming out today. Interviews with the cast of Freaky, the new body swap horror comedy with Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton. And with that, we'll see you back here next Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Oh my God, my brain is pudding. 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Nerdist YouTube channel and the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. In the meantime, stay safe, be healthy, take care of yourself, and have a great day. Bye-bye.